Hello everyone, my name is Daniel, and today we're going to be talking about understanding marketing with Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is a video game series developed by Intelligent Systems and published by Nintendo. What sets it apart from other Nintendo games is that Fire Emblem focuses on a strong, character-driven narrative framed within a strategy RPG. So if those same characters that the player has become so attached to fall in battle, they're gone for good. This gives a strong sense of weight to each decision the player makes. The series was at risk of ending before the release of Fire Emblem Awakening in 2012. It saved the series by doing record sales and was in large part successful due to being much better advertised internationally and adding new quality of life features to make the game more appealing to new players. The next game in the series, released in 2016, was Fire Emblem Fates. It sold very well, but the characters, which are the primary point of interest for many players, were much less popular with international audiences than they were in Japan. However, Nintendo wasn't actually aware of this until the result of the first Choose Your Legend character popularity poll that was held as part of the release for Fire Emblem Heroes, the mobile game that was released in 2017. They had done polls before this, but they were exclusive to Japan, and it's not possible to get the data from them anymore. What we are going to look at are the results of the international polls and analyze how they influenced Nintendo's business decisions. At the end, we'll look at the results from the most recent poll from 2026 and try to predict what decisions they might make next. So, what were the results of the first poll? Like I stated previously, this was the first poll that was released to international audiences. None of the characters from Fates, the most recent game, placed within the top 5, despite the game only coming out the year before. In fact, the characters that we do see winning are Lucina and Starja from Awakening, the game that revitalized the series, Ike and Roy, who have both made appearances in Super Smash Bros. Prior to this point, which is another Nintendo crossover property, and Lyn, the protagonist of the prologue from Fire Emblem Blazing Blade, which was released in the US as just Fire Emblem. We can assume that they learned from this that characters from the older games were much more popular with international audiences. The winners of this first poll, and the winner, Lyn in particular, start showing up more in promotional material, as well as getting many alternate versions added to the mobile game Fire Emblem Heroes. Most of the characters in Heroes tend to only get one or two versions of them added to the game at most, whereas at the time of this presentation, Ike has 9, Lucina has 8, Roy has 5, Tharja has 7, and Lyn has 11, only surpassed by player stand-in characters, and only then if we combine the counts for the male and female versions. Uh, the most immediate examples of the results of this poll are Lyn getting rushed into Fire Emblem Warriors, which was a Dynasty Warriors crossover game released later the same year as an extra character just before the game released. We also saw Lyn getting added as a support trophy in Super Smash Bros. And most recently, she was promoted as the first character given out as part of the Premium Pass for the newest mobile game in the franchise, Fire Emblem Shadows. In the 2018 and 2019 polls, we see Celica and Alm from the recent remake of the second Fire Emblem game placing very high. This made remaking older games look promising, and during later interviews, Nintendo executives stated that they would be looking into remaking other games that never originally got international releases. The 2019 poll was our first example of the community banding together specifically to push a character onto the poll. They formed a dedicated effort on Reddit to push Camilla from the Fates game into one of the top spots, which was actually a bit of a joke because she was one of the least popular characters to the US audience. In the 2020 poll, that one was swept by the 2019 release Fire Emblem Three Houses. This game did so well both in sales and in character popularity that it promoted Nintendo to release another Warriors crossover game titled Fire Emblem Three Hopes, which came out in 2022. Uh, in addition, the next numbered game in the series, scheduled to come out in 2026 later this year, is implied to be a direct sequel, which is a bit of a rarity for this series. Um, the 2021 poll saw a return of the international community working together to push a character onto the polls. This time, the Gatekeeper, who this was the first time both a nameless NPC made it onto the poll and into the winning spot, scoring higher than any other character has up to this point. That's likely the reason why they were included in Three Hopes as a secret bonus character. Looking at polls 6 through 9, there was a minor controversy regarding the inclusion of player stand in characters, both the male and female versions of each of them, like I mentioned earlier. Um, the initial response to the female version of Violet, the protagonist from Three Houses, winning the 2022 poll, was to remove the alternate version. This was overturned the following year because of the negative reception of that decision by the community. And we can see over the next couple of years here, Robin, both the male and female versions, and male Violet eventually making it into the top spots as a result of that decision. Moving on to our final findings, an important thing to consider is the release and success of Fire Emblem Engage, the most recently released game. It wasn't technically a numbered entry in the series, but was released in celebration of Fire Emblem's 25th anniversary. It features the return of many fan favorites, at least one from each game, in some cases several, including Lynn, who probably wouldn't have been chosen to represent her game if not for her success in that very first character poll. Looking at the results of this most recent poll from February of 2026, we see Sigurd, the protagonist of the fourth Fire Emblem game, which never got an international release, winning the first spot. Considering he was also one of the most popular returning characters in Engage, I think I can safely predict that we'll see a remake of his game sometime in the near future. We also see Tsubasa in one of the top spots. She's from a crossover with the Persona series. This marks the first time we have a winning character from one of the crossover games, and it may prompt Nintendo into looking at a potential sequel to that one. Overall, Engage sold over $1 million in copies within the first 3 days of its release, and it's easy to see why, with Nintendo drawing on the community's love of these characters from older entries in the series. It just goes to show that we can learn valuable information about this and the importance of giving your communities opportunities to provide feedback and heeding that feedback in positive ways. Thank you very much for your time.